Yo, what's going on, man? Welcome in. Today is December the 4th, 2022, and we got a nice little NBA slate. We also got some NFL games, so this won't be too long of a show, but I got a couple looks I wanted to share with you guys and wanted to give everybody else a chance to kind of share their looks too if they had something that they wanted to share today. Coming off a real terrible 0-2 day. Just the way that the plays lost. I was on Justin Winslow's yesterday. I gave that out in the chalkboard community, and the dude shoots the ball 3 times. Did have 7 rebounds and 5 assists. His PRA was only 22 and a half, and he had been crushing that number, but only shoots the ball 3 times. Anthony Simons kind of got it going. Jeremy Grant got it going, but to only shoot the ball 3 times after shooting, so efficiently and having, like 8, 9, 10 shot attempts, it's just that was a real bad one, real tough pill to swallow, man. So we'll get it back today. I'm fairly certain we'll get it back today. And then I also made a quick cap video yesterday for the Toronto Raptors in the Orlando Magic under 218, and you just see a fourth quarter where points just start to pour in. Toronto had they had held Orlando down. Orlando couldn't score, and that's what I was kind of expecting. Third game in 4 nights, back to back for both teams. Toronto expected them to be fired up. Didn't expect them to be able to give up 106, 108 points in that game, but I did expect Toronto to be able to score just a tad bit more. I just thought that it'd be a massive swing as far as points wise. But that one kind of got away late. First half, that looked really good. Might have been a first half under. I probably should have played the first half under looking back at it maybe. But yeah, moving forward, man, let's get into today. Like I said, probably not a long show, but definitely got some notes and some plays I want to talk to you guys about. So a couple of these games, full transparency, I didn't get into as far as like breaking them all the way down to feel confident enough to actually give out plays in. But like I said, I got a couple looks, and I want to share my screen real quick before we get started because we know how janky Sundays can be, man, in the NBA, especially for favorites. A lot of the jankiness comes when dogs end up winning games, and we got some away teams laying some points today, and that's typically the spot that you want to stay away from, especially if you're trying to put together, these parlays. I'm not trying to, but if you're ever trying to put together these parlays, so um, let's talk about them, man. Let's talk about them. First game up, I want to go to. And before, like I said, before I do that, let me just I'm trying to get these banners set up real quick. Before I do that, I do want to say if you're watching on YouTube or Twitter, man, hit the like button for me if you guys can. And let's get into it. So one thing I want to show you guys real quick, if you guys are watching on YouTube, and the link is actually it's in the it's the last tweet on my page if you guys want to watch on YouTube. Um, one thing I want to share with you guys. Let me share my screen real quick. I, this is one thing I looked at. Um, how teams perform on Sundays specifically in the NBA, right? So against the spread, straight up. I'm gonna zoom in so you guys can see this a tad bit more. Yeah, I think that's good. So you see these teams, all the teams are on the right hand side. Their ATS record is over here on the left. And then, of course, far as left, you see how many games they played on Sunday. So you see the Warriors, they're not playing today, but you see the Warriors have played 5 games on Sundays. They're only 1-4 against the spread. Uh, but they are 4-0-1 to the over under. And then if you look at them straight up, they're 3-2. So that's what I mean, man. We know the Warriors are a really good team, but I bet you those road games, those Sunday games, will probably come on the road. So that was something that kind of just stuck out to me. Also, Knicks at the top. We see the Knicks 4 games they played so far this season. On Sundays, they're 0-4 against the spread. 3-1 to the over, so they're giving up a bunch of points. Probably they typically do, and they're 0-4 straight up as well. We know that they played Cavs today, 3.5 point spread there. I think it opened at 3, probably get pushed up to 4. I didn't bet it, but it's the only way I'd be able to look in that one. But just looking at some of these teams, man, I think this is really interesting stuff. And then you see who actually does well on a Sunday as well. You see, who is this? The Phoenix Suns 3-0 ATS on a Sunday. Average line of 6.7. They've been covering that. The Cavs 5-1 on Sundays, and like I just talked about, the Cavs do play the Knicks in Madison Square Garden today. Nets 2-1. Let's see. Who else am I looking for? Celtics. Just 2-0. 2-0. Look like they're 2-0 straight up and against the spread on Sunday. So just something I kind of wanted to share, man, because I always talk about the jankiness in the NBA, specifically on Sunday. So yeah, just like I said, just something. I think I had it up long enough. Hopefully you guys found what you were looking for. If you were looking for, a specific team. But I'm gonna stop sharing my screen now and get back into the actual looks for today. So like I said, hit the like button for me, retweet the show if you guys can. What up, Ayo? Markel, what's going on, my brother? Yeah, it could be tricky for sure. Let's get to some money though, man. So first game up, I want to talk about this Nuggets and Pelicans game. So, line in this one actually opened at Denver being the favorite. They were 1 point favorites when it opened. The total was 229. Since we've seen a shift to now the Pelicans are favorite. They're favored by 1, and we see the total go up to 230 and a half. So I thought that was interesting because looking at this game, both of these teams will be kind of short-handed. Jeff Green is listed as questionable for the Nuggets, and Michael Porter Jr. This is also the 340. It's a matinee game for both of these teams. Jeff Green is listed as questionable. Michael Porter Jr. is out on the Denver side. Looking at the Pelicans, Brandon Ingram he's also already been ruled out, and Herb Jones is also ruled out as well. So that you got CJ in. CJ didn't play well in his first game back the other day against the Spurs. But that's kind of to be expected. Now you get this Nuggets team, they're coming in off a loss to the shorthanded Atlanta team that they clearly just looked over the other day. And I was super frustrated because I did take them first quarter. We lost on that on Friday night, but one day off, shorthanded coming in off the shorthanded loss against the Atlanta team. They are 7-1, excuse me. 7-1 against the spread in their last 8 games, coming off a straight up loss. That's the Denver Nuggets. So typically when they get punched in the mouth, they end up punching back. The Pelicans, looking at them, this is one of the better teams in the league at home specifically. They're 8-3 straight up at home, but only 0-4 against the spread in their last 4 games versus the team with a winning road record. With a winning record in general. They typically do not play extremely well against the top tier teams in the NBA. And that was actually one of the things that I wanted to look at. I just wanted to let me see if I can bring this up real quick. So if we know that the Pelicans have been struggling specifically with a lot of injuries. CJ went down, Brandon Ingram is still down. CJ went down with an illness, but still just kind of not, having all their pieces together. I want to share my screen real quick and show you guys this as well. I just want you guys to see who the Pelicans have actually been playing against. No knock to the Pelicans. I like the Pelicans a lot. But let's just go backwards. They beat this Raptors team. That was a pretty impressive win. I did not think they were going to win this game. I was actually on the Raptors in this game. Raptors came out extremely flat. The Pelicans played really good defense in that game. But then you got to win against the Thunder. Thunder actually been playing well too, but this was a shorthanded win against the Thunder without SGA in that one. The Grizzlies, they lost that game on the road, and then you get the Spurs as well. And of course, you beat the Spurs, you beat the Warriors. There was a shorthanded Warriors team without anybody in that starting lineup. You lose to the Celtics, you get the Bulls, and then you also beat the Grizzlies as well. So to me, looking at these wins, Thunder, the like I said, the Raptors one was pretty impressive, but looking at the win against the Thunder, against the Spurs, against the shorthanded Warriors team, those aren't really that impressive to me. So I do feel like even though the Pelicans are pretty good at home, they are not always the greatest when it comes to playing against these teams that can actually play defense and I feel like kind of match up with them. I do feel like the side is a tad bit tricky though, just because you don't have Michael Porter Jr. in this game. So where I went was I actually elected to go to a player prop. Like I said, I got a heavy strong lean to the Nuggets. I think they could win this game outright. It feels like a Nugget spot to me. If you were gonna play the Nuggets, I think you do take them first quarter, first half. They're 7-3 against the spread on the road in the first quarter, even though they did lose the one where we took them on Friday. Sometimes you got to go back to it. I do think this is a much more motivated spot. So I would look at that angle. Hey, can you sit down? No, go sit down. Watch your iPad, please. All right, so excuse me for that real quick. All right, so Nuggets 7-3 against the spread in the first quarter on the road. Also, Nuggets as away favorites, which they opened at, they actually won in the first quarter by an average of 4 points. After a previous ATS loss, they win in the first quarter of the next game by an average of 6 points. So typically, it's a spot where they bounce back in. Teams who lose their previous game as an away favorite with a line of 4 or more, and then are away favorites in the next game, are winning the first quarter by an average of 4 points as well, dating all the way back to last season. Those teams are also 33-17. That's a 60% cover rate straight up. When you're literally just asking Diver to win the game. So, like I said, strong lean. Sundays are weird, man. Strong lean to the Nuggets to be able to cover this game. I think that they can win. If I had a play, I would, if I had a free play, I'd take the Nuggets. But like I said, I'm pivoting to a prop. That prop is Jokic. I'm on his points, rebounds, and assists over 43.5. Let me see if I can share this with you guys as well. Let's see. So if you look at, let me see if I can zoom in real quick. If you look at Jokic, this is Jokic's game log versus the Pelicans. So you guys can see last time they played was in March, and he had a 46, 12, and 9. The game before that was in February, 25, 12, and 9, 29, 13, and 10. I won't keep going through all of these, but Jokic typically plays extremely well when he's playing against the Pelicans in general. So that was something that I wanted to share with you guys, just looking at his game log. And then, of course, like we already mentioned, this team will be extremely, well, not extremely, but they'll be thinner today when you subtract a guy like Michael Porter Jr. And you take him out of the lineup. I just feel like it's a big game for Jokic today, specifically in this spot. So one possession game. Nuggets should come out fired up after the poor loss to the shorthanded Hawks. No Michael Porter Jr. I took Jokic over 43.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I think I got it at minus 120 last night when I played that. Moving along, Suns and the Spurs. Interesting game here. So it's interesting for a few different reasons, because on one side, you get a Suns team that just lost a game outright. We know that the Suns lost that game outright to the Rockets. They were out rebounded by the Rockets. Rockets shot a lot more free throws, and the Rockets just looked like they wanted that one. If anybody was watching, spreading this one opened at 9.5. Now I see it all the way up to 10.5. So money's come in on Phoenix in this one. The total went from 228.5 all the way up to 231. So money's coming in on the over as well. And I like it. I'm not playing anybody minus 10 and a half on a Sunday though. Because one of the things that I've been sharing with you guys over the season is these home dogs catching more than 7 points. They're performing well in this spot. So a couple trends that back the Spurs here. Home dogs this season catching 7 or more points are 14, 6, and 1 against the spread. That's 70%. Spurs, they're 1-1 in this situation, specifically against the spread. But the Suns are the Suns are just 1-4 ATS on the road this season. So they haven't played a lot of really good basketball games on the road as far as covering the spread. But I do think you get a fired up team here. Suns are also just 1-7 against the spread in their last 8 games versus a team with the win percentage below 40%. So when they're playing against these, bottom tier teams, they typically don't bring it all the time. But if you want to back the Suns in this spot, you do look at them being 6-0 ATS in their last 6 after a straight up loss, and 6-1 against the spread in their last 7 following an ATS loss. So, Torrey Craig is listed as out in this one. Bridges is probable. He's going to play. He at least said he was going to play. Got upgraded to probable, listed as questionable earlier. And Chris Paul was, working out yesterday, but he's not going to be in this one. The big things for me though is you get, Langford is listed as questionable. You got Richardson listed as questionable. Doug McDermott is probably going to be out. The big things for me in this game is Jakob Poeltl and Jeremy Socom are also already out. So another pivot for me, not actually taking the game, but looking at Aiden. Aiden is the guy I feel like should absolutely come out here and dominate this game. They weren't physical last game against the Houston Rockets, specifically in the paint. So I kind of feel like it's an Aiden spot. His over rebounds plus points plus rebounds is 29.5. So you're literally asking for a 20-10 game versus a team that has no interior presence at all without Jakob Poeltl being in the game. So one of the things I looked at was how the Spurs do rebounding wise and how the Spurs do defensively without Jeremy Socom and without Jakob Poeltl. So I'm gonna share my screen one more time for you guys. I want you guys to see this, and I might have to zoom in just a tad bit so you guys can see this. These are screenshots of what I was actually looking at. So you guys see here, this is a query for Jeremy Socom and Jakob Poeltl uh, not playing this season. So both of these guys not playing at the same time. You see that the San Antonio Spurs are 0-2 straight up, 0-2 against the spread, and 0-2 to the under, 2-0 to the under in this spot as well. They're losing these games by average of 13 points. But what I wanted to focus in on is you look at this rebounding, right? They're getting out rebounded by 6 rebounds, 46.5 to 52. They're also giving up 12.5 rebounds. This second one right here is when these guys are actually in, right? So when these guys are playing, you see that, they're actually not that bad of a rebounding team. They're only losing the rebound battle by 2. That's a 19 game sample size, as you guys can see right here. Without these guys in, they're losing the games by an average of 11 points. That's a 19 game sample size. And as you guys can see here, when these guys are in, when these guys are not in, they're losing by an average of 118 points. I'm sorry, but losing by an average of 13 points. So real kind of telling stuff. I feel like Aiden has the advantage. We know that he has the advantage. Can he actually take control of that opportunity is something that is going to be a tad bit different. One more thing I wanted to look at was, and I'm gonna share my screen again. I probably should just kept this up. Jakob Poeltl specifically. So here you guys see a query for games where Jakob Poeltl. Let's see if I can zoom in real quick. These are the 3 games that the Spurs have played without Jakob Poeltl being in the lineup. They're 0-3 against the spread, 0-3 straight up, and 3-0 to the under. They just can't score. You see that they're only averaging 100 points right here in those games and losing those games by average of 20 points. Rebounding again, you guys see 53 to 45. This was something that I picked up on. I mean, it's kind of common sense, but something that I picked up on when I was watching them play against the Lakers, and he went out, and how that game changed when he got injured. So real strong trends there. Like I said, Aiden over 29.5 points plus rebounds is what I locked in. I know Aiden can be a tricky player and somebody that's really difficult to back, but I do feel like coming off the loss, it's a pretty good spot. Also, Suns first quarter, Suns first half. The Spurs they really struggle early in games. They're one of the worst teams as far as how games start. The Suns, you worry about a motivation, how motivated they are, but I do feel like it's a spot where they should be pretty motivated because they came off the loss and probably want to hurry up and get this one out the way with, man. They know, that this is a bottom tier team. And, they probably got a bad taste in their mouth after losing that game straight up against the Rockets at home. So that's what I kind of got for you guys there. Moving along, let's get to this Celtics and the Nets game. This is going to be an interesting game. I think a lot of people, I got some mentions about, about my thoughts on this one. And I don't have, like tremendous thoughts. It's probably something I'm just going to watch. And the reason why is because it's a playoff revenge angle. I talked about it the other day when who was it? The Dallas Mavericks were only 1 point dogs, and it came out as a pick against the Golden State Warriors on last Tuesday. The Celtics team, they are 18-5 on the season, 14-9 against the spread, 5-5 on the road, and 7-3 over the last 10 games. Coming in off the loss against Miami at home on Friday. This will be their first road game for the Boston Celtics since November 21st. That's a really, really long time. They had played 6 straight home games. It's also the front end of a back-to-back, a roll back-to-back, because the Celtics do play in Toronto tomorrow. They do play in Toronto tomorrow. On the opposite side, Brooklyn, they've been on fire lately. They're 7-3 straight up in their last 10, 8-4 straight up at home. And they've been at home for 4 straight games in a row. So today's going to make 5 games in a row. We always talk about not betting against that team. I know that the Celtics are, everybody's favorite. For me, I'd rather keep my money in my pocket and watch this game. Just cheer for whatever. I don't have a dog in the fight, but just, not have to worry about, what's going to happen. I already talked about it this Sunday. I could see the Nets kind of staying hot. Also, you got a 4-time revenge spot. Not only did the Brooklyn Nets lose in the playoffs last year, they got swept in the playoffs by this team. If you don't think that if you don't think Brooklyn got this one circle, I don't feel like they should have one circle. Ben Simmons is out. Marcus Smart, haven't seen his official status yet, but he was listed as questionable with a hip injury. And then Sumner is also already ruled out as well. So yeah, Brooklyn, like I said, at home, coming off the impressive win against Toronto on Friday. The total in this one, you guys can see it on the screen. It opened at 234. It's all the way down to 231. So some money's coming in on the over. The Celtics are 4-0-1 to the under in their last 5 road games as well. They haven't. They typically play a little bit better defense. We know that Brooklyn's a top 8, I think, defensive team over the last 5 games. If you check their defensive rating, I looked at it earlier, just forgot to write it down, put it in my notes. So I could see it going under. I think it's a playoff style game. And last year in the playoffs, of course, this is not the same matchup. They had Robert Williams in that. And today the Celtics won't have Robert Williams. But KD and Kyrie probably got this one circle. Also, not a second night of a back-to-back for them. Like I said, you get one team, a lot of playoff revenge. At home, 4th straight home game, and then you get the Celtics traveling out, second night of a back-to-back as well. I'm staying on the sidelines in this one because I could low-key see the Nets covering this game, potentially winning it outright. If they do cover, it'll probably be a outright win. And I know that that's not what the public wants to hear. I know a lot of people like Chris take them Celtics team totals, and if you guys want to do that, by all means, man, play whatever it is that you absolutely love. I'm just not getting involved in this one, man. I'm not getting involved. I feel like I can make a side for both teams. So yeah, I'm not involved in that one at all. Looking at these next few games, so the Grizzlies and the Pistons, the Bulls and the Kings, the Lakers and the Wizards, and I do want to talk about the Cavs and the Knicks game. But Lakers, Wizards, Bulls, Kings, Grizzlies, Pistons, not something that I really have a lot of not something that I have a games that I am interested in those games. Just haven't been able to take a deep dive into them like I wanted to. Pacers and Blazers is also something that's pretty interesting. Halliburton is listed as questionable, and that one, and Dame could make his return, which would probably help because the Blazers, they have. This will be the second game of a back-to-back for them. Their starters play heavy minutes in that outright win and cover as a dog last night in Utah. So, short travel back from Utah back to Portland, but want to get into that game as well. That game just starts so late that I'm not going to force anything. Last game I want to talk to you guys about real quick before I open it up to anybody who wants to kind of share their looks. And I give you guys a recap on what I actually played. This Cavs and Knicks game. So I kind of talked about it last night when it opened. It opened at, let's see, go back to my banners real quick. Last night when it opened and I started capping it, the Knicks were actually catching 2.5 at home as home dogs in this one. Total was at 227. I think money's come in on the under in this spot, and then also money has come in on the Cavs. As you probably would think, not a lot of money though. Spread's only gone from 2.5 up to 3. Total has gone from 225.5 down to 222.5, which I think I would agree with that. So this is what I got for you guys in this one. You get a Cleveland Cavaliers team, get the banner up. You get a Cleveland Cavaliers team that's 7-3 straight up last 10, but just 4-7-1 ATS on the road this season. They haven't performed well in that spot. Cavs are also just 1-2 straight up and against the spread on the road without Jared Allen this year. And the Cavs are 0-6-1 against the spread in their last 7 road games. But they are 8-1-1 ATS in their last 10 games on Sundays. I kind of showed you guys a chart earlier. The Cavs are a team that does play well on Sundays. They're 8-3 ATS in their last 11 meetings in New York as well. And they play again on Tuesday against the Lakers. The Lakers will be in town on Tuesday back in Cleveland. So, kind of a, not, I wouldn't say it's too bad of a spot. Some of those trends I just gave you guys would back the Knicks in this spot. I can't get behind the Knicks. Some of those trends would back the Cavs in this spot. But it is kind of a sandwich spot because you get the road. They've been at home for a while. Now you got one road game and then you go back home to play the Lakers. Could be a look ahead spot to that Lakers game as well, because that is that's not really a revenge game. They did end up coming back and beating the Lakers, but Cavs and Lakers are always going to be, a big game. So looking at the Knicks side, Knicks home and home back to back, coming off the loss yesterday against the Mavs. They are just 2-6-2 against the spread at home. The Knicks are the worst ATS team in the league on Sundays. I showed you guys that as well. They're 0-4 straight up and 0-4 against the spread, but they are 4-0 ATS in their last 4 games versus a team that has a 60% win percentage or better. They typically play up to competition. They don't play well, playing down the competition, unless it's the Detroit Pistons. Then they just beat the Detroit Pistons every single time. They got an interesting game on deck as well. They play on Wednesday. They play Atlanta, and we know how big of a rivalry that game is. I already talked about it, but no Jared Allen, no Dean Wade, but it looks like everybody else is going to be a go for this Cleveland Cavaliers team. And this is a four-time revenge game for the Knicks as well, if you think that they could actually cover or win the game. They're Knicks on the second night of a back-to-back. I've talked about them not not being they're not the worst team on second night of back-to-backs. They also pull their starters after being blown out in the third quarter. If anybody watched that game yesterday, Tim Hardaway Jr. feels like he hit about 93 pointers in the third quarter, and they were outscored. They outscored the Mavs outscored the Knicks in that third quarter. I think it was something like 43-14 or 13 or something like that. So after that, Tim Thibodeau pulled his guys and the game was over with pretty quickly. So one thing I wanted to look at, and I want to share this with you guys as well, because I do have an official play in this game. That official play is Donovan Mitchell. So last night, his points, I saw him at 3 different numbers. I saw him at 27.5. I think that was on FanDuel. It was -104. I saw him at 26.5. That was -125. I think that was on Hard Rock. Then when I woke up this morning, I think on PointsBet, they were at 25.5, and it was extremely juiced. I think like -135, I think. So I like the number. I like all 3 numbers. It just depends on how much juice you kind of want to lay. And the reason why I'm on Donovan Mitchell. So we cashed on his threes the other day. He hit 7, 5. So I think he hit 7. So he's hot right now. We know if you don't know, Donovan Mitchell is from Connecticut as well. He typically gets up when he plays against the Knicks. Probably because he got a lot of family, a lot of friends there. Also not, a big not a back-to-back at all for them, right? So slightly also looking at him, Donovan Mitchell, he averages slightly more points on the road than he does at home, 29.6 to 27.6. So he's needed to score just a tad bit more. He's cleared he's cleared 27.5 in 5 of his last 7 games overall. The 2 games that he didn't clear was against a really good 76ers defense, and then on the second night of a back-to-back when he was in Toronto and he had to face OG Anunoby. So that's going to always be a struggle. Also, real strong lean. And I was actually, I don't know if I'm going to play this or not. I'm going to give you guys the 26.5, the 25.5, the 27.5 as an official play. But I also lean his threes as well. Over 3.5 was -107. Last night that's what I got written down. He's over the last 5 games. The Knicks are allowing 14 made threes, which ranks 29th in the league. Donovan Mitchell coming off back-to-back games where he's had 7 and 5 threes made. Now he's facing the Knicks team that he went off against earlier this season. He shot 8 for 13 from 3 in that game. That game, of course, didn't have Darius Garland. And you look at you look at um, the last game that he played for Utah, he shot 12 for 7 for 12 from three as well in that game. So I like Donovan Mitchell threes again today, man. Over the last 5 games, he's making 4 and attempting almost 9 a game as well. Dallas just gave up 8 threes to Tim Hardaway Jr. They're really, really bad against the three. So I couldn't talk anybody off Donovan Mitchell threes over 3.5. But I went with his points just in case he doesn't have the greatest shooting night. I think he still will be needed to score. And the Knicks, quite frankly, just don't do well against guards. So I took Donovan Mitchell over 26.5 points. Strong lean to the Cavs minus 3.5. But like I said, I'm not really wanting to touch too many spreads today, especially, the Knicks, especially the Cavs not having Jared Allen on the road. And one of the things I wanted to share with you guys real quick, another reason this kind of influenced my play as well, I'm going to share my screen, was Darius Garland. This guy, I don't know if people paying attention to this, but Darius Garland is actually really struggling. And this could be a spot for him. Could be a spot where Darius Garland actually comes through. But what I have on the screen right here is, zoom in a little bit more for the people that are watching on YouTube. You guys can see Darius Garland home road splits. So Darius Garland has played 8 games at home this season. He's averaging 30 points, 29.4. He's played 9 games on the road this year. He's averaging 16.4. So for me, that's another reason, to like Donovan Mitchell in this spot, because Darius Garland has been struggling. This is the perfect team to get right against, the New York Knicks. But I don't know what it is right now. 9 games, you're only averaging 16 points versus being at home, you averaging 30. I'm pretty sure that's probably the biggest split at home versus on the road. So that's kind of what I got for you guys there in that one. But I thought, looking at that, when I ran that and I was looking at that on StatMuse, I thought that was pretty interesting. So official for me, I'm on Darius Garland over the 26.5 points. Couldn't talk anybody off the 25.5 if you're scared and you want to lay the extra juice. Couldn't talk anybody off his 30, lightering up to 30 either. And like I said, his real strong lean to his threes over 3.5. But that's what I got for you guys today. So official for me. Before, if anybody have any plays that they want to share, send me a request. I'll get you guys up. Pistons covering the first half is what Steve said. Wizards are a better team at home, and the Lakers are due for regression after a big win on Friday. I could see that, Euphoria. I'm not taking the Wizards though. The Wizards are 1-4 ATS as a home favorite. They are 2-0 in the last month as a home favorite, as a home dog though. So the Wizards don't perform as well when they're favorites. They perform a lot better as dogs though. I really wanted to go to that game too. Mitch said Jokic over 8.5 assists plus 106 on FanDuel. I could see it. So real quick, I wanted to give you guys my official. So official for me, I just talked about Donovan Mitchell over 26.5 points. I took Jokic over 43.5 points, rebounds, and assists. I think he has a tremendous impact on the game. I think he scores. I think he gets rebounds. And I think he has a really good matchup against Jonas Valanciunas. And I like his assists as well. Like Mitch said, if you're just looking for one, I lean more towards his points because without Michael Porter Jr., I feel like he'll have to score more. And then DeAndre Ayton over 28.5 points plus rebounds. Really like that line. I also saw that 29.5 on some books. Strong lean to McCollum. I just couldn't get there with his assists. I talked about wanting to take Trae Young on Friday night against this Pelicans team. I'm sorry, against this Denver Nuggets team. You can't really tell based on the numbers, the recent numbers, because they haven't been playing against elite point guards. But DeJounte did have 8.5 assists. He was set at 8.5. He finished with 8 assists in that game. Literally didn't have anybody to pass the ball to. Still finished with 8.5 assists. They were extremely shorthanded in that game without DeAndre Hunter. DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, and Trae Young. He still was able to get there. I think second game back, CJ McCollum probably finds his rhythm. That line was at minus 135 when I looked at it earlier. I'm not playing a minus 135 on assists. But without Brandon Ingram, I've give out this trend plenty of times before. Without Brandon Ingram, he is the primary ball handler. I expect him to be able to distribute the ball. The line went from minus 135 to minus 145, which is why I didn't officially take it. But I like CJ McCollum to go over his 5.5 assists. So 3 official plays. Leans, Suns first quarter, first half. I also look at Suns team total. I feel like they'll just be able to score the ball today against a Spurs team that is going to be extremely shorthanded without Jeremy Socom, without Jakob Poeltl. Grizzlies as well. I think first quarter, first half is something I'm looking at. The Detroit Pistons don't function as well off of an ATS win, and we know that they're coming off a really, really big win. I wouldn't take the Grizzlies to win that game and cover on the road. Like I said, road home teams catching more than 7 points. I know their spread is about 6.5. They're covering that. So we also know that the Memphis Grizzlies don't function as well on the road as well. They also don't function as well off a win either. So I could see it, Detroit actually covering that game. Those are the dogs that typically cash on a Sunday. I'm not putting my money on the Pistons with the defense that they have. I probably look towards Ja points. He scores more on the road than he does at home as well, but nothing official there. And then, like I said, real strong lean towards the Nuggets. I didn't play them, but I would look towards the Nuggets to win that game. And specifically early. I didn't get there with that either, but that was another really, really strong lean was the first quarter, first half for the Nuggets. They typically play well off a loss, got embarrassed in that game. And I do feel like, they probably come out and, just kind of try to right the ship today. So official, Donovan Mitchell over 26.5 points, Jokic over 43.5 points, rebounds and assists, Aiden over 28.5 points plus rebounds. And then the leans were McCollum over 5.5 assists. Nuggets first quarter, first half. You could pick one or two. I probably go first quarter if I'm being honest. Grizzlies first quarter, first half. Don't expect them to. The Detroit, I expect for them to come out a little flat. And then the Suns first quarter, first half. And if you wanted to, you could look at the team totals to kind of get away from the large numbers on the spread. So that's what I got for you guys, man. If anybody got anything they want to share, like I said, send me a request. Appreciate you guys for being here as always. Hit the like button for me. Subscribe to the videos if you guys haven't, and share them as well. I don't see anybody sending me any requests, and I also don't see anything else in the YouTube comment section. So if that's, I wanted to keep the show to under an hour anyway, just because I wanted to just because football starts in about 19 minutes. Malik said official on DeMar over 26.5. I really like the Donovan look too. Yeah, I think Donovan Mitchell goes off today, man. At the Garden, I think he plays well. I like that look a lot. So I am on Donovan Mitchell in this one, like I said already. And I'm also on Jokic. I like Jokic to have a big game today as well. Aiden should dominate the paint. 20-10 game from him is what I'm looking for. So those are the three games. Those are the three plays that I'm official on. And I gotta do some more work, man. We got some time, but I wanted to kind of give you guys, what I had so far before football starts. Matthew said, "What about Fox points?" So Fox didn't have to do much yesterday. The Bulls play the Kings today. The Kings will be on the second night of a back-to-back. They didn't play. They had a matinee game early, and they didn't play their starters heavy minutes. The Bulls struggle against guards. They continue to struggle against guards. We saw what who was it? Jordan Poole. Jordan Poole was able to do against them. I like De'Aaron Fox a lot. Fox is needed to score more on the road than he is at home. So that kind of talks me off of it just a tad bit. Kevin Huerter does plan to play in that game as well. I'd actually be looking at Huerter or Malik Monk. I feel like it's a Malik Monk type game. I like Monk. I think you probably get a better price with Monk as well. They don't really have a guard. I mean, Caruso do his best, but those guys, especially at home, we know what the Kings do at home, man. For them to have, be a 2.5 point favorite is probably what's baked into that line is the second night of a back-to-back. I think the Bulls, for them, this will be their last game of a vicious road trip. They've been out west for, it seems like about 2 weeks. I think altogether it's been about 5 or 6 games. So yeah, I could see Fox getting to his points, but I'm not playing Fox today. Like I said, Fox is he's not really needed all the time to go get a bucket, if that makes sense, just because the Kings have so many willing and capable scorers. Like anybody on that team could score. They got a lot of guys on that team that could get to 20. So taking Fox, I'm pretty sure his points probably sitting at 24.5. I don't see it always. Sabonis though against Jonas Valanciunas probably. I'm sorry, against Vucevic is probably a look as well. So that's what I got for you guys, man. I don't have, like I said, I don't have any requests. So I'm gonna get out of here. Best of luck to you guys. Official plays for me, like I said, one more time: Donovan Mitchell over 26.5 points, Jokic over 43.5 PRA, and Aiden over 28.5 points plus rebounds. Strong leans to McCollum over the 5.5 assists. To the Suns, first quarter, first half, whether you want to play team totals or full game. I think it's a tad bit of a motivation spot. Probably want to get the Spurs out of there early. And I'm not willing to lay that big number. Then the Grizzlies first quarter, first half, because the Pistons typically come out a little slow, but don't think the Grizzlies cover full game. And then the Nuggets first quarter. I talked about all of those and gave you guys some information on all of those. Lakers and the Wizards game, like I said, I want to find a play in this one. Lakers do have the Cavs on deck coming off the big win against the Bucks, so didn't really get there with that one. Bulls and the Kings really want to get something out in that one as well. But like I said, it's Sunday, man. Don't force it. Don't force it. We got more NBA tomorrow. Sundays are janky, as we already talked about. So best of luck to you guys and whatever it is that you end up playing, man. I hope you guys cash. I'm out.